Today, I will give a comprehensive explanation of the historical trajectory of gun laws in the United States. Over the next few minutes, we will delve into key events and developments spanning several centuries to gain a deeper understanding of this complex societal issue. Before debating any law, bill, or new idea, we must always look at the U.S. Constitution for advice. So let's start with the Second Amendment of the United States, which was ratified on December 15, 1991, and is part of the Bill of Rights. Here's what it says about gun laws. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment has been subject to a much deeper debate and interpretation over the years. Its language has been the focus of legal battles, scholarly analysis, and public discourse. With that in mind, I'll start at the beginning. In 1607, the Jamestown colony was established, marking the beginning of European settlement in North America. As colonists ventured into untamed wilderness, firearms became essential tools for survival and defense against the unknown dangers that lurked in the vast expanse of the New World. Muskets and rifles became symbols of security and self-reliance, forging a deep-seated connection between the American people and their firearms. As our nature grew and expanded, so did the prevalence of gun violence. The early years of American history were marred by conflicts with Native American tribes, territorial disputes, and the ever-present threat of lawlessness on the frontier. Duels, once a common method of resolving personal disputes, became an emblem of a society where rule and law was also often replaced by the law of gun. Fast forward to the 19th century, and America found itself embroiled in the turmoil of civil war. Firearms played a central role in the conflict, shaping the course of history and leaving an undeniable mark on our nation's psyche. In the aftermath of war, the Reconstruction era witnessed a surge in violence and tensions between the white supremacists and freed slaves. But it was not until the dawn of the 20th century that the issue of gun violence truly came to the forefront of national consciousness. The Prohibition era in the 1920s saw a rise in organized crime and gang violence, as bottleneckers and mobsters fought for the control of lucrative illicit markets. Cities like Chicago and New York became battlegrounds in a bloody struggle for power, with innocent bystanders often caught in crossfire. As the 20th century progressed, so did the efforts to address gun violence through legislation and policy. The Gun Control Act of 1968 represented a significant milestone in this regard, imposing stricter regulations on firearm dealers and prohibiting certain categories of individuals from purchasing firearms. However, challenges persisted, and tragic events such as Virginia Tech shooting in 2007 and the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in 2012 served as stark reminders of the urgent need for action. One court case that comes to mind when speaking about this topic is the District of Columbia versus Heller. This court case is significant in the evolution of gun violence because it reshaped the legal landscape surrounding firearm regulation in the United States. By affirming that an individual's right to possess firearms for self-defense, the Supreme Court's decision in Heller altered the framework within which gun laws are debated, enacted, and challenged. This ruling fundamentally shifted the balance between individual liberties and public safety considerations, influencing subsequent legislative and judicial actions related to the gun violence prevention. By affirming an individual's right to possess firearms for self-defense, the Supreme Court's decision in Heller altered the framework within which gun laws are debated, enacted, and challenged. This ruling fundamentally shifted the balance between individual liberties and public safety considerations, influencing subsequent legislative and judicial actions related to gun violence prevention. Dick Heller was a special police officer in D.C. who wanted to keep a handgun at home for self-defense. However, D.C.'s laws prohibited him from doing so. Heller argued that these laws violated the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Heller, affirming that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess firearms for self-defense. Writing for the majority, Justice Anton Scalia held that the Second Amendment guarantees the right of individuals to keep and bear arms, unconnected with service in a militia, for traditionally lawful purposes such as self-defense within the home. The court's decision struck down DC's handgun ban and requirements for firearms to be kept disassembled or locked, ruling them unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. However, the ruling also acknowledged that the Second Amendment is not unlimited right and does not prevent reasonable regulations on firearm ownership, such as prohibitions on felons and the mentally ill from possessing firearms. The Heller decision clarified that the Second Amendment protects an individual's rights to bear arms, highlighting the importance of self-defense as a lawful purpose for firearm ownership. This interpretation has informed legal challenges to restrictive gun laws and regulations, leading to increased scrutiny of measures that may infringe upon Second Amendment rights. As a result, policymakers and lawmakers have faced heightened pressure to craft legislation that respects constitutional rights while also addressing the pressing issue of gun violence. Moreover, the Heller decision emphasized the concept of reasonable regulations on firearm ownership, while affirming the individual right to bear arms. The court acknowledged that this right is not absolute and does not preclude the implementation of laws aimed at promoting public safety. This recognition has provided a legal framework for the enactment of measures such as background checks, waiting periods, and restrictions on certain types of firearms, all of which play a role in addressing gun violence. The modern era gun legislation has been profoundly impacted by past acts of violence and has shaken the nation's conscience and sparked debates on the balance between individual liberties and public safety events, such as the Virginia Tech shooting in 2007 and the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in 2012, and the Las Vegas shooting in 2017 have prompted calls for action and renewed scrutiny of existing gun laws. These tragedies have underscored the urgent need for comprehensive measures to address gun violence and prevent future atrocities. In response to these events, lawmakers both the federal and state levels have sought to enact legislative reforms aimed at curbing gun violence while respecting the rights of law-abiding citizens. Measures such as universal background checks, red flags, and bans on certain types of firearms and high-capacity magazines have been proposed and implemented in various jurisdictions across the country. These efforts reflect a growing consensus among policymakers and the public that sensible gun regulations are necessary to protect public safety and prevent gun-related tragedies. However, the debate over gun laws remain highly contentious, with proponents of gun rights arguing that strict regulations infringe upon Second Amendment freedoms and undermine the ability of individuals to defend themselves and their families. This tension between individual liberties and public safety concerns continue to shape legislative debates and legal challenges, with the courts often called upon to weigh the constitutionality of gun law measures. In this complex and polarized landscape, finding common ground on gun legislation is a formidable challenge. Yet, amidst the divisions of disagreements, there is a shared commitment to reducing gun violence and ensuring the public safety and security of all Americans. As we confront the legacy of past acts of violence and grapple with the complexities of the Second Amendment, let us strive to forge a path forward that respects both the rights of individuals and the imperative of protecting our communities from harm. Only through thoughtful dialogue and collaboration and commitment to common sense solutions we can hope to build a safer and more resilient society for future generations.